What's up, folks? It's Dan here from BeAGameCharacter.com. We are back again with Q&A Tuesday. I apologize for missing last week. If you saw the blog post, I basically took a little short vacation last week. Not actually a vacation. I took time off of the blog last week because I had a whole crap load of stuff going on in real world life. So, unfortunately, I just had to give that priority. But we're back again. We're going to jump right in with questions. First off, we've got John Smith from actually 2 weeks ago, or last week after the 2 weeks ago when the Q&A Tuesday went up. He did not get the question on time, so we're going to start with. So for you, if you could be the leader of your own country, how would you lead it? Put policies, etc., and what type of environment per se would be an example like the Russian tundra, tropics, or something like Central USA. If I could create my own magical mystery landmass that came out of nowhere wherever I wanted it to with the right climate and whatnot, it would probably be similar to southern-ish U.S., like not like super south, like probably like North Carolina type latitudes. Basically so that winters are not all that bad, summers are long. The idea being you want a long growing season, agriculture being the foundation of civilization in a lot of ways. Um, be very, very science based. Probably some sort of socialist construct, not full communism, but probably something more like democratic socialism or something along those lines. But very, very technologically oriented nation. We would again socialized democracy voting. One of the first things that I would say would happen in such a culture would be full digital voting. Like you get a smartphone app, and the smartphone app, like you can still have traditional voting, but like you can download a smartphone app to vote from your smartphone. Um, and just a much more communal based society, effectively. Not necessarily mandated that way, because I think forcing people to be communal is never good, but constructing in such a way that, you have a small group and then a bit like your local community, and then like your town, and then like states and stuff like that. Like that's all too delineated in my opinion. I think that you should be able to make changes at your small group, and it affects the world at large. So this is a very, very long topic, and I'm not going to go into super detail on it, but it'd be something along those lines. And then we're going to go ahead and move on to John Smith's next post, just to get both of his stuff out of the way. Favorite online game is Team Fortress 2. I love playing as the Heavy. He's my character inspiration for RPG Fitness. I was wondering, is it human nature to at least partially to work? Mainly reason people work, obviously, is for capital, but at the same time, I think people work more than that as their nature, as their very nature to help their community. We can even see this. I'm sorry that we can even see this now as people who are retiring are picking up part-time jobs or a hobby. Yeah, absolutely. I think that for whatever reason, oh, you know what? I'm going in the wrong order here. I went to the wrong one first. Anyway, but we'll answer this one. I think that for whatever reason, uh, humanity basically, like, we have this perception that people are inherently lazy. And I don't think it's that people are inherently lazy. I think that we as a society resort a lot to escapism, which can look like laziness, um, but it's not actually laziness, it's escapism. I think that if people did not, a lot of people think that, if you didn't have to work for your survival, like to make money to pay for things to exist, that you would become inherently lazy and not do anything, and there would be no motivation to produce, basically, effectively, to have a hobby, to make cool things, to do stuff like that. That I think that the actuality is that people just have, like, I think they have innate drives. I think they have innate things that they want to do, and most of us don't get to do the thing that we innately want to do because we are so preoccupied with either societal concepts or the need to make money to survive, or and that results in us doing things that we don't want to do but having to do it because we need to make money. Obviously, there are some kind of extremes here. Like, not many people are going to willingly want to be sewage workers, at least probably not as many as we would need to maintain societal balance. However, I do think this is chaining very well off the last question, even though I went in the wrong order. I do think that that society could be constructed a lot better, and I do think that if given absolute freedom, as in like you don't need to make money ever again, you don't need to do whatever, I think that people would still do and make cool stuff. I think we'd have a lot of work to find a balance as a society because not everything that you can do in life is cool. But I think that yes, not that we have an inherent desire to work, but when you're doing something you're passionate about, it's not work. Like when I teach karate, when I show workout videos, when I do build cool things and stuff like that, like that's not work for me. I do work very hard at it, but it's not in the category of work. You know what I mean? Like it's just something that I enjoy doing, and it produces something of value at the end, which is cool. So that's my thought on that. I think that we always like to do stuff. It's just a lot of times we are forced to do stuff that we don't want to do in exchange for money just to survive. So, moving on. I'm just making sure I'm on the right video now because I was on the wrong one to start out. Here we go. Storyman09 says, hello, Dan. When it comes to jobs, it really comes down to A, whether it keeps me busy / from being bored, or B, whether I feel like it's getting me somewhere or not, whether I feel it's meaningful or at least contributing something to my own life or the lives of other people. That said, I rationally hate any job involving doing dishes. Random, I know, but there's a reason. Growing up as a kid, I was the oldest of 8, and for quite a while, we had a dishwasher that was broken, so everything had to be hand-washed, and I was often voluntarily volunteered by others. We call that being voluntold. Which was something that sucked and pretty much carried my dishes hatred over to other areas of my life. I prefer something where I'm kept physically engaged and I'm able to work with a team to solve a greater overall job or problem. It's funny because I don't have a dishwasher. I haven't had a dishwasher for the 3 years that I've lived in my house now. We're looking to get a dishwasher this summer, and I am so excited because I hate washing dishes too. My question for you this week is Ganon, Darth Sidious, and Lord Voldemort. Battle of the Dark Sorcerer characters, who do you think wins? They're all locked in a castle that's neutral ground and told the only way out is to be the last one standing. Note, the incarnation of Ganon is Ocarina of Time Ganon, Sidious from Revenge of the Sith, and Voldemort from the last Harry Potter movie. I think, as much as I enjoy Jedi characters, well, Star Wars characters, I think Sidious is out. Like the Force is strong in the Jedi, in the Star Wars universe, but like compared to some of the stuff that Voldemort pulls off, or that Ganon pulls off, like a really high level Sith can like throw lightning a little bit from his hands, whereas Voldemort, like, think about his like little battle with Dumbledore, even like dude basically brought a whole freaking volcano out of his wand and threw it at somebody. Like I don't see Sidious being able to stand up to that. And Ganon, I mean, the one thing that Ganon really has over Voldemort is that Ganon there needs to be the Master Sword or some aspect of the goddess Hylia or one of the the Triforce, the three goddesses, Din, Fëanor, and Nehru, or something like that. Like Ganon needs to have those. Those are his kryptonite. If you don't have that, Ganon doesn't really die, but at the same time, Voldemort's got his Horcruxes, and if they're in a castle that's neutral ground, then I'm guessing the Horcruxes are not there. So, in reality, I think it's kind of a stalemate. I think, magic-wise, I think Voldemort would probably really mess Ganon up, but I do think that Ganon would basically live through anything Voldemort would throw at him because Voldemort doesn't have the Master Sword or, the Arrows of Light or anything like that. So I would say eventually I'd give it to Ganon because even with the Horcruxes around, you could basically kill Voldemort and it takes a while for him to come back with the Horcruxes and whatever. So I think I'd give it to Ganon. That's all. Looking forward to hear your answer. Have a great week. Storyman, you have a great week as well. Moving on, we got Benny. It says, hello, Dan. What is a job you hated and a job you loved? Whenever I worked so far, it was between loving the job and a bit boring. I never hated it. If I can do labor on a slow but steady pace, I am happy. I did some work as an automation technician and I liked it. A mixture between brain and handwork is great. I would hate a job if there are people at work which expect things of me I can't deliver or I don't want to deliver. One kind of work in that direction is everything with very tough or very lofty people. Working 24/7 is also a thing I'm not capable of doing. I need my free time. Cool. And now the question for you. How much are your wife and son involved in your work in the dojo and on the internet? My wife has a black belt as well. She teaches at my dojo on Wednesday nights. She's also very involved in the administrative end of things just because she is a very type A person. She's very good at that. She is also a more aesthetically gifted person than myself and my other partner, Andy, because, we don't care much about how things look. So anytime stuff needs to look good, she's much better at making it happen than we are. Like, with the exception of like flyers and whatnot, I do the graphic stuff pretty well. But she like if we're setting up booths for any kind of like public demonstration we're doing, or like getting the dojo organized and looking nice or something like that, like she's definitely at the forefront on that. In addition to teaching the classes that she teaches, and also helping out with the back end of things, student management and stuff like that. My son who goes to classes at the dojo, but he doesn't really do much besides that for the dojo. And for the blog, here he helps me out with videos sometimes. He enjoys doing that. But that's really basically all he does, But as he's gotten older, it's kind of cool because he's gotten like an understanding of like this is a thing that I do. Like he really wanted to be a game character shirt a little while ago. So that's about it. But good question. That's cool. Yeah, I mean basically, I'll try to involve my family as much as they want to be involved. Like when my wife Jackie she first started getting involved with the dojo, like she just taught a class, and then she slowly started to get more involved with the administrative end of things, and then coming and helping out with demonstrations and stuff as far as that goes. So that's kind of, and she did it I think mostly out of like frustration at how inefficient me and my partner Andy were being at the time. So whatever, but that was a voluntary thing. Like my son Lucas, like if he wants to do a video with the blog, he will tell me, and very often he wants to. He really likes doing videos. So that's about it. Have a nice week, Benny. You have a nice week as well. Oh wait, there's more here. I don't like sports games as well. For me, they're on the same level as makeup games. On Sunday, I did a street workout with my sister and her friend. That is definitely something I won't do regularly. I don't like to be exhausted. I wonder what's a street workout. You got to tell me. You mean like going running or something like that? Let me know what a street workout is, because that sounds interesting. Have a nice week, Benny. You have a nice week as well. And finally, we got your name, who says, hey, Dan, one job I didn't like was a job as a busboy in a restaurant. It felt pretty degrading at times, but it did teach me a lot about modesty and hard work. I never loved a job. I've never had a job I loved, but I imagine I wouldn't mind being a superhero. It's funny because my whole family has worked in the restaurant industry in some way, shape, or form. My dad was a bartender. My mom was a waitress. My brother was a chef on the back end, as well as doing some stuff on the front end. I think he did bus. I don't think he waited tables. I think. And my sister also has waited and been a drink runner, and I don't think she's bussed, but so all of us have done some sort of work in the restaurant biz at some point, with the exception of me. But I did one time. One time I went to a restaurant that my parents worked at. My dad was a bartender. My mom was a waitress at the time, same restaurant. And they called me because they needed help on New Year's Eve. They were a little understaffed. They needed just a drink runner. And a drink runner, if you don't know, is somebody who their only job is they go to the bar. The bartender tells them, here, this is for table blah, blah, blah. And you get handed a platter of drinks, and you have to bring them over to the table. Now, this was a German restaurant. So a German restaurant, you had big, heavy drinks. You had beer steins, and you had tall beer glasses. Those were really super tricky. The tall ones that, I forget the name of it, but it's like like narrow at the bottom and big on the top. And they did super tall ones because, it was like... was a very traditional German restaurant. You want your giant beer or whatever, and there's all kinds of little tricks and intricacies to it, like how you had to carry the platter properly. And I'd never done any of this before. And I was in there on a super busy night, and it went okay. Obviously, I didn't have any practice with it. I did spill a glass of wine on somebody, which I felt horrible about, all over this lady's dress on New Year's Eve, and I felt so bad. I can't tell you how awful I felt. Um, but I mean, they were really cool about it. The guy apparently actually owned a diner, and and so her husband, and they were like, "Oh no, this happens. It's okay." I was like, "I'm so sorry. This is my first night ever doing this," and so whatever. They were super chill about it. The restaurant comped them their dinner or whatever. I felt really bad about that. I also dropped a bottle of beer. Like when you bring the beer out in a bottle, you bring it out in a bottle with the glass. And I was holding the platter, and I took something off the platter, which unweighted it slightly, and the beer went tumbling and flipped in the air and hit. The bottle was already open, so it hit with the mouth on the table and then flipped over and landed straight upright on the table. And all of us like sat there and looked at it, and I was like, and we all kind of, it was like a full beat, and I was like, "You get dinner and a floor show, folks. There you go. Here's your beer." And I started pouring it, and they all laughed, and I left. And I was like, "Oh, my God, I almost did it again." But the defining moment of that evening was there was a table of young members of the military and their wives slash girlfriends slash fiancés. And they were all sitting around, and they had a little bit to drink, and I was bringing their drinks for them and stuff like that. And at one point, one of the girls asked me for another of her drinks, and I was a drink runner. I'm not allowed to take orders. I'm not allowed to do any of that. Like, I just go and get drinks and I bring them to you. That is my job. And I was like, "Oh, your waitress will be back in just a minute. I'll let her know that you're looking for a drink." And her boyfriend, had to be a big, tough military guy, was like, "I think what you mean to say is you'll be bringing her drink in just a minute." And I'm like, "Your waitress will be back in just a minute. I can't bring your drink. She will be back in just a minute. She'll be able to help you out with that." He's like, "What you mean to say is that she will have her drink very soon, right?" And I was like, "I'm going to leave now." And I just turned and walked away. But that one moment was like, that was my defining moment of, okay, I can handle screw-ups, dropping drinks on people and stuff like that. Like, I can fix that. That's the thing I can fix. I will never work at a restaurant again because I swear I almost decked that guy. Like, I am not a person who likes to be in a position where I am effectively serving someone, because I like to help people. But if you're going to be an asshole to me, I'm not going to deal with you. And unfortunately, in a restaurant, you have to. Like, if I'm waiting tables and somebody at the table is kind of being a dick, I still have to deal with that table, Like, I have to. And I'd worked retail before, which is almost as bad. But in retail, at least, like, your pay is not based upon the behavior of your customers. Whereas when you're waiting tables, like, basically your whole pay is based on tips. So I was like, no, I can't ever do this again, because I almost hit that guy. And that was it. That was my one time I worked at a restaurant. I ran drinks, and that was it. And it's a shame, because if I was a little more predisposed to it, I could make a lot of money at it. I'm very good at sales in person. So, like, and that's basically what waiting tables is but I can handle the highs. I can't handle the lows. The lows make me too mad. No. So anyway, that was a super long commentary thing for not even the question that you asked me. So your name's question for you has to do with Nightwing. He's definitely one of, if not my favorite superhero, so I'm basing my ongoing superhuman journey around him. My plan is to pick up training in gymnastics and martial arts, Muay Thai and BJJ, as well as stepping up my weightlifting regimen and my running regimen. My question is, what do you think Nightwing's 1-rep maxes are? I think they might be 275 for bench, 450 squat, and 500 deadlift. What do you think his 40-yard dash time is? I have 5 seconds. What are the skills or attributes do you think I should work on that I might have left out? I don't... Well, it's tough to say, first of all, because I do believe that Nightwing is obviously going to be at the peak of fitness. That's basically the hallmark of all the Batman characters. So I think your numbers are probably pretty close. Probably higher on bench if I had to guess. He's, I believe, 5'10" and around 180, 190 pounds. So I think he could probably go higher than that. And also, I think the deadlift would probably be higher. If you're squatting 450, you can usually deadlift more than 500. Um, what do you think is 40-yard dash time? I have 5. Yeah, probably 5 seconds be around there, would be my guess. What are skills of attributes you should work on that might have left out? I think you should double down in the gymnastics. I have to remember that Dick Grayson is an acrobat first and foremost. It's part of the reason why he's got a somewhat slimmer build than Bruce Wayne. And so, lots of ring work, lots of flips and tricks and stuff like that, because he did start out as an acrobat, and his whole thing is that he is very acrobatic. Like, he's been like that since day one. So I think doubling down on your acrobatics and stuff like that, very good. Muay Thai and BJJ are cool. I think that's a good mix of stuff. You also might want to look into Kali stick fighting, some sort of Filipino martial art, because, again, he fights with the Eskrima a lot. That's kind of his thing. So I would definitely look into the Filipino martial arts and go with something like that. So excellent. I love Nightwing. Nightwing's one of my favorite characters as well. If I had to pick a DC character that I would like to have the physique of, it would definitely be Nightwing. Like, I would, that would be super cool. So that's awesome. I would love to hear updated progress on that. Let me know how it's going in the future. Granted, I'm really far away from these numbers as they are, but I'd rather have a right target to shoot for if that makes sense. Absolutely. Makes total sense. Thanks, Dan. Have a good week. You have a good week as well, Yernan. That was great. Very discussion-inducing comment. So, yeah, that's it. Those are all the questions for this week. I have some awesome news. I gave notice at my job yesterday. My last day is May 17th. After that, it is 100% be a game character / super gym / unleash the Ultramind / everything else going forward. And I've got some really cool news for them this front, but we're out of time for today. I have to pick myself up from school. So I leave you with this question for next week. If you could pick one thing that you would want to get out of a gym, and it could be anything. Like, if you want to be able to have, like, assume a standard gym like weightlifting and cardio and whatever, if you could pick one program to add to a gym, archery, survivalism, gymnastics and tricking, parkour, anything kind of personal development related, meditation, personal life coaching, whatever. Pick one thing that you would like to add to a gym and let me know what it would be below. So that's your question for the week. As always, remember to live boldly, change the world, and continue to be awesome. I will see you next week.